everyone. Back in the
Hey.
studio with the Creative Speak podcast. We are in full effect for season 2. Can I have some clapping?
It
I
was
missed you
clapping.
last
Oh,
time
let
with
me
the cues. I don't know. Now we doing levels and all kinds of sound and
In
we
advance.
going up.
There
That
we
was
go.
nice.
That's good, right?
That was good. So yeah, season 2 is going really, really strong. And I have some exciting news. We have with us in the studio for the first time that boy Elijah.
Yes, sir.
Glad to be here.
Elijah's a Gen Z co-host with us. We are getting ready to hit up Zimbabwe. More clapping. We are extremely excited to connect internationally. How y'all feel about that?
Great. It feels it's a blessing. Oh,
Surreal, right? Okay, here we go. Stop.
Hello. Oh wow.
That would be our official Creative Speak podcast greeting. I don't think anybody greets guests the way that we do.
I was about to be like, it's a whole crew there.
It is a whole entire crew. I need some more clapping. You're gonna hear me really getting on their case.
I'm gonna add something else.
Could you add? What are you gonna add?
That is so cool.
So again, I want to say thank you for joining us on the Creative Speak podcast. For those of you who don't know what we're about, we are a platform for creatives that share their life experiences, artistry, and content, and coming all the way from Zimbabwe, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Come on, you need to give that. Okay, that was nice. I am Joy, the host of the Creative Speak podcast, and I'm gonna let our Gen Z co-hosts introduce themselves to you.
hello. My name is Josiah, a Gen Z co-host.
My name is Marquise, Gen Z co-host.
Hi, my name is Elijah, a Gen Z co-host.
All right, come on. Can we
Clap.
have some? Oh my God, I'm so sorry, and I'm proud of myself because I did get your name right. It's Mufaro, right?
Yes, ma'am. It is. It's
Okay.
Mufaro, definitely.
Mufaro. Now you have to do your last name for me because I don't want to screw that one up.
Well, it's Chifamba. Chifamba is the Shona version of Walker or Walk.
Ah. Is that like a popular name in Zimbabwe?
It's pretty common across certain parts of the country. So you like, in basically, for example, in the same way you guys have Smith, Johnson, Williams, you would have surnames like Chifamba, Moyo, Kumalo, etc. that are just very common across the country. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's super super cool. You have a lot of roles that you play here, so I should make sure that I get this right. I have coming the CEO of the New Rivers Creative Group. So why don't you explain to us what those innovative hubs are? Like, what are those entities and your role in that? That would be great to start us off.
So basically, the New Rivers Group is a startup, I would say umbrella music and media company that is very kingdom cultured and houses a record label, which is New Rivers Music, and it also houses New Rivers Creative, which is a creative culture studio / movement, and Emerging Africa, which is a creative communications agency that we kind of started just a little over a year ago. So basically these innovative hubs, brands, as we would call them as well, they kind of serve I think one of our core purposes, which is to create platforms and spaces for artists to share their talent, their unique journey with God, and also to serve brands. This is through Emerging Africa to serve brands, to build brands, and manage them and shape a global narrative through African brands as well. So yeah, that's pretty much what we do.
Listen, no, we need the other sound. That wasn't good enough. Where's
What's
the other one?
sound? This one?
Yeah.
The air horn?
Yeah. That was pretty amazing. Besides the Spirit of God, that really drew me because I was so curious. I've never seen so many layers and so many different entities doing such a great work for God simultaneously and feeding off of one another. I'm gonna pass you off to our first Gen Z co-host. He has some questions for you.
Hello. Nice
Shoot.
to meet you.
Hey, man.
My first question for you is, how do you define creativity?
Wow. That's a really good question. I would say creativity, from my personal experience, is the art of conceptualizing, taking nothing, basically a raw idea, and turning that into reality.
Yeah.
Creativity is acting in the same way God took, he created this earth from nothing and turned it into living color. We have that same mantle to create from a raw place and turn those raw ideas into living realities. In a way, impacts communities, nations, and so forth.
I like that. My second question for you is, at what age or time in your life did you realize that you were creative?
I think I've low-key always known that I'm creative. My first love is music. So my parents told me a story of, how when my mom was pregnant with me, whenever they played music, I would react. But in a womb, I would actually react in a certain way whenever music was played.
Yeah.
And, from the time I was young, I used to create melodies in my head. I used to, try and play drums with my mouth, or try attempt beatboxing and stuff like that. Started writing songs when I was 11 years old. As time went on, I then realized that I am a creative because I became so passionate about all things creativity, from music to media to content creation to championing different forms of creative disciplines, from poetry, spoken word, dance, and creating platforms that actually encompass that. So I think I became fully aware of it about 7 or 8 years ago. But I've always known that I'm low-key, that I'm a creative. I create things in that sense. Yeah.
Creativity is very broad, so yeah. My third question for you is, do you think creativity is innate or learned?
I think it's innate. We were created in the image of Christ, image of God. So because God is creative, that makes us creative. It may be through the arts. Your creativity can manifest in the financial sector, in the business sector, and education, bringing creative solutions to problems that we may have in each sector, or using creativity to
Solve
problems to create new, things across different boards and different spaces.
I love how you said that you were aware of it even at 7, 8 years old. Important for this generation to understand that you don't have to bloom into a full adult, to be able to connect with something that God has given you. So I'm going to pass on our newbie here. Clap one more time. Elijah is like, he's family. He's family, HBCU man, but he's here. He has his questions for you too, Mufaro.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing good. I'm doing good. My question is, I guess you could speak from more of like a CEO role.
Yeah.
Have you always wanted to do what you are doing? If not, what made you decide to start?
That's a really, really good
They
question.
good. They got good ones.
They got good questions. Like, I'm just like, okay, cool. Y'all making me think. When I was 12 years old, I knew then that I wanted to be a music producer. As a musician myself, I was already writing songs, which, then helped. I think I eventually stopped writing for some years, and I picked up songwriting again when I was 18. And then I then became exposed to different facets of creativity, different facets of the arts as time went on. And I realized that I wanted to do music, but I also wanted to stretch my tent into the different facets of creativity, from the creative arts to creative communications to media. And I wanted to have a broad understanding of each particular space and learn what I can to sort of build spaces for people that are passionate about these particular creative disciplines. These creative elements came when I was about 19 years old, and that led to the creation of New Rivers, when I was 22. We are almost 7 years in the journey now.
My next question is, describe what is the most rewarding aspect of your role as a CEO?
Wow. Yeah, man, you got good questions. Being a CEO is something that I guess in the season I have to do because we're still building, we're starting up, and we're still kind of finding our footing and exploring and trying to master what we do. I think the most rewarding element and aspect is seeing creatives, both creative artists and creative professionals, really flourish and thrive at what they do. Being in that space to encourage them, particularly some of the music artists that we've worked with, seeing them release their project after a couple of years or of hard work, but seeing them come into their own and just flourish and thrive with that, for me is a very rewarding thing. For me is the most rewarding part of the experience. Yeah.
Wow, that's good. That reminds me, that's similar to the role that our youth pastor, Elder Joy plays, as she watches us
my gosh.
grow into our own personalities and the things we like, and just growing into who God has for us to be. So that's funny. It's so interesting how a CEO can correlate to being a youth a youth pastor.
And you'd have to really have a passion for people. You have to have a deeper love for the wholeness of the person and not just what they can do, but what they become. That's
true.
That's
That is true.
the beautiful part of the journey. And you don't hear many people say that that's the rewarding part, but it is great when you do see someone progress.
I just have one more question. Who or what experiences have inspired your work?
Wow, yeah. I guess I'm inspired by a lot of people. From a musical standpoint, there's been a lot of inspiration. I look at people like Joel Houston. I think he's the creative director of Hillsong United.
Yeah.
His journey in terms of like songwriting and production and pushing the creative envelope is something that he has done over the last, I guess, 20 years of United, particularly in the last decade. And knowing that God has gifted him with this dream, and seeing him, write songs that have impacted millions across the world.
Yeah.
So Joel Houston is one of the people that I consistently look up to. I think on the business side of things, lately I've been listening to a guy called Vusi Tembakwayo. He's not in the music or media or creative space, but he's literally in the business space, and he's South African based. A lot of his insights have helped shape me, in terms of how I view the creative business as a visionary and as a leader and stuff like that. Pastor Craig Grishal, his leadership podcast has been a great help over the years. I can name a whole list of people that I think from the top of my head, that's what comes to mind.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah.
those are good, and I like that it was broad enough that it hit all different parts of what makes you whole and what it is that you do. So you talked about the business aspect of it, and sometimes with creatives, we are very creative, but we do lack a lot of knowledge and experience when it comes to the things we need to develop the gifts that we have. So it's good, and even a spiritual aspect too, because Christian creatives, we really have to work harder on being Christ-centered and being spirit-led. And sometimes we can get really selfish with our gifts. We can get really into a space where God is not glorified. I'm seeing that a lot. Apart from His Spirit, we are no longer serving as a creative that is not only being used by God, but is also making the focus God. And that's why I have these platforms to bring that back to the forefront as a priority, as a purpose, like you said, being, formed by God for this very reason. This is making them think.
Yes.
Like I can see the brains, especially Elijah. I told Elijah actually with this interview, I was so excited about him coming. I said, Elijah, okay, this man from Zimbabwe reminds me of you. Okay, Elijah? Elijah himself being business-minded and a thinker and voice for his generation. So Elijah just sitting here, his brain, you should see his face. I'm going to pass you to Marquise. He has a few questions. This is going really, really good. Go ahead, Marquise.
Hello, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. Does your culture play a role in your creativity?
That's a good one.
My culture. It's a really, really good one.
That's a good one.
It's a very good one. Wow. For me personally, it has contributed to a certain extent. I have been very careful not to let it drive it. And I say this because culture, depending on your local context, is a reflection of everything that is around you, beliefs, how you grew up, traditions, etc. Probably in the songwriting space, where I've been able to incorporate our local languages into maybe some of the songs that I've written. To a certain extent, it has played a role, but I've been very careful not to let it drive my creativity. I've always relied on God to be the core center of the creativity, to be the source of every single idea that I have. I hope that answers your question.
No, that definitely does. I like what you were saying about putting God first. I know for our culture can always change and can always go a certain way. So it's very easy to get too involved with it and not put God in it. So I definitely like what you were saying.
Definitely. I think if I could add on maybe just that as well. I always believe my mantra lately over the last couple of years has been creativity with purpose. And my belief is that if you know your why you're creating and where this is going as well, the creativity that you create with purpose will always be powerful, more powerful than creativity without any form of purpose. So there has to be purpose attached to your creativity, why you're doing it, or if your why is strong enough, trust me, the result of your creativity will be very effective. That's my belief. Yeah.
From the point of a creative, which innovative hub do you feel most connected to, and why?
It would probably be New Rivers Music. I am first and foremost a songwriter and a producer, so I love being able to write new music, being able to write with people, to be able to create particular projects, and also just help oversee projects that is through A&R and stuff like that. Helping to bring music to life, music projects to life will ultimately always be my favorite thing to do. I love every other hub that we have within the New Rivers group, but for me to always be the music, because that is one of the key things I believe God has mandated for me to do on this earth. So yeah,
that's definitely awesome. Though that's definitely awesome. We definitely see that the amount of artists that are coming on to that platform and just the music growing in that is definitely we definitely see that, and we definitely see that in the future that more will come.
That's a music man too, so I know he really liked that.
Yes, I do.
I saw a smile in his face while you were talking. I think if you can make music a pie, right, and then just have slices of it to just give him all day long, that would just be what he would eat. So I know.
Oh wow!
I know that was a special place for him just now with it.
Yeah.
I have something too in regards to it. I'm gonna. We have 2 final questions for you. So your team of creatives, that's another thing that is tremendous. And coming from a standpoint of faith, like our faith in God, we know how strong unity is, and even scriptural, like it's pleasant and sweet when brethren dwell together in unity. Like I think that's something that's so powerful about the collective, that team of creatives that you have now. How do you guys come together? Like how does that? If you could give a short, do they come? Is it like, I'm interested? Do you guys go out and make an invitation? Is it just based on the people that are with you now? Like how does your team of creatives come together?
It's a great question. That's gonna require a bit of a broad answer.
Okay.
Because I honestly, to be honest, how everything came together, how we have people that we have now, and we've worked with in the past, 7 years, has been really just God doing His thing. and just God connecting us, connecting people together and all that stuff. And this has been him just doing all these things and blowing our minds whilst we're at it.
To kind of tie in to wrap up in this, okay? Because can we clap? Yeah. You have a lot to deposit, and at a young age too, like you're still fairly young. You try to say Gen Z's try to act like everybody old and they just the only people on the planet that's young. But I'm saying a young, I'm gonna say a young elder man, right? What do you want to be remembered for? What would you like to be remembered for?
Wow. Y'all are really coming through. What would I like to be remembered for? I think the question is really simple. I would like to be remembered as a man that loved God, loved people, loved community, and loved creativity, and that left a lasting impact through the work that he did. And that really is my goal, simply put. Yeah.
I didn't even have to tell him to clap. I'm so proud. Like, you see what you're doing? You're helping my work over here, Mufaro. Look, it's rubbing off on them. I didn't have to tell him to hit clap. He did it on his own. To God be the glory.
To God be the glory.
To God be the glory indeed. Wow.
This has been just an amazing conversation. It was even more insightful than I thought it was going to be. I wasn't clear on everything in terms of the entities and your role and the vision that God has given you and the passion that God has given you and just your spirit, in Christ. We thank God for you over here in the U.S. We thank God, that you're standing and you guys are pushing forward. Shout out to all the amazing, we need a horn for that. Shout out to all the amazing artists that is repping with you. Because, man, you guys are coming through. I've been, it's just so much to take in. It's like, oh my gosh, look at all of these creatives together that are each one has their own unique, distinctive kind of way that they, shine through. And to be able to connect with that is like, you guys have something really, 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 really special. So I gave you your last question. Now this is how we close out with all our guests. This last one, right? Because we are a platform that, it's impacting the next generation, the Gen Zs that are here and their peers and other young people around the world. Okay, so let me go. You have the ear of the next generation right now. Give them one word of wisdom.
Whew. A lot of pressure.
You got their ear now.
Wow. I will leave the next generation with this, that your dreams, the vision that God has laid upon your heart matters. And it will be used for greater impact, whether it's one person, whether it's 100 people, whether it's nations, or it's just simply communities. What God has deposited in you, your dreams, your vision, your calling, it's going to impact the people around you. It's going to impact nations, maybe. It's going to impact the entire globe. You just have to remain faithful to the mantle that God has given you. Remain faithful to God and be in a space where you are walking in close fellowship with Him, because the world is getting crazier by the day, and you cannot afford to navigate through the world problems without a relationship with God. You cannot afford to navigate your career, your dreams without a relationship with God. Being spirit-led, being led of the Spirit, being led by God through everything that you do is the most important thing that you could ever do. So stay the path and be in a space, in a position where you are following God and you're walking in close fellowship with Him. Your dreams matter, your vision matters, the coin that is on your life matters, your mantle matters. never take it for granted. Yeah.
That whole thing was clear too.
He said there's no technical issues on that one. That had to. I was
came
over
out
here.
perfect.
This was a great interview. I want to thank you again for taking your time out to join us today and to share so many things with us and with our listeners. Can you tell everyone where can they find you at? Where can they connect? Where can they know more about what you're doing and even get a chance to hear the artists and keep up with what you're doing? Can you share your platforms and where everyone can find you?
Yeah, definitely. So if you want to connect with me, that is with my personal platforms, Mufaro_Chifamba. You will find me there. If you want to connect with anything that we're doing in terms of our music, our creative culture, events, and so forth, New Rivers at New Rivers Music on Instagram, New Rivers Creative, Emerging Africa, and there's a whole bunch of links that will get you to a lot of the creatives that we work with. You can look up. We've got a collective called New Rivers Worship, which is under our label. We've got music available on Spotify, Apple Music, every single streaming platform you can think of. Every song is there. Even for the artists that we work with and serve. There are links in our bios, so you'll be able to find a lot of the music that we've released over the past 7 years at your disposal. So yeah, you can find us there, and our hope and our prayers that the music that you hear impacts you and leads you to a greater revelation of who Christ is, and hopefully that you can also you can relate with your own unique journey with Christ through the music, the content, some of the showcases that we've done, and yeah, that's where you can find us.
Awesome. And we're on the lookout, right, Gen Zs?
Yes.
Because they
I
are
was
the
even
ones.
watching the Creative Exchange conference, and it was
Oh wow.
yeah, it was a couple of artists that I'd seen. They were all amazing. There was one particular. She was playing the guitar, then playing the piano, and then singing. I forgot her name, but
Her name
great
is
stuff.
Rimby Praises.
Yeah, really great stuff for real.
I said this on another interview, you don't have to see people for them to see you. You don't. You do not. It's not like that. Sometimes we measure it that way, but people are watching. You just never know at what moment that seed that you're planting will grow into something else. You may not see it in your own backyard, but it's growing somewhere. Listen, if Gen Zs give you a thumbs up, you are in good standing, okay?
Come on now. We thank God.
So many blessings to you all. Much love from the U.S. We always tell all of our that stop by to talk with us that you definitely have an extended family in Christ here. We will continue to share, support, encourage, and do what we can to continue to push the things of God with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
We did it! Where's the whole thing? Oh, gosh. That was a really good one.
Hey.
Sampling beats and all of that.
Let's do it again.
Give it up for Elijah, right? Come on, Elijah. Elijah did good. How did it feel on the creative couch with us? How did it feel?
Felt good. I'm not as nervous as if I were to be with other people because it's a family vibe. So that kind of helped me to not be as nervous. But I feel like the biggest thing was making sure that I was really paying attention and really listening. So yeah.
You did good. We out of here now, right? Why is everybody looking at me? Can you turn this off?
See you.
Oh,
See
it's
you.
the-
See you.
you-
See
Turn
you,
it off.
see
Oh, all right.
Turn it off.